Welcome to another, instead of spectacular, I'm going to say fantastic, epic show on My Orgasmic Life. I'm your hostess, Gaia Morrissette, and I am a holistic sexual wellness specialist and BDSM wellness specialist and a trauma recovery expert. So, on today's show, in line with Masturbation Month, International Masturbation Month, which is May, I wanted to have a conversation with you about touching ourselves, playing with ourselves. And one of the questions that I get often, actually, before I go into that, I have to give a shout out to my sponsors. So this episode was brought to you by ticklelife. All right. Let's get into the juice. So, masturbation, whacking off, rubbing one out, choking the chicken. My favorite is whacking off. That's how I love to refer to masturbation. Or self-pleasure. I go whacking off for self-pleasure, okay? Or self-discovery. So, over the last couple weeks, I would say over the last month, I've been doing a lot of conversations because we're in this, kind of lockdown with the pandemic of COVID-19. And I've been doing lots of shows about how to expand your masturbation practice, how to change your orgasmic pattern, how to, expand your spank bank. So I've been talking a lot about masturbation and whacking off because a lot of us are spending a lot of time by ourselves. And you still have to have some sexy time, all right? Sexy time is important, whether you're by yourself or with others, okay? And one of the questions that keep coming up is people keep asking me, do I have a problem? Is there something wrong with me? Am I addicted to masturbation? How healthy is it? How often are you allowed to masturbate before it becomes a problem? So that's the conversation I want to have today with you, is how do we know what is a healthy sexual relationship with ourselves versus an unhealthy and detrimental relationship with ourselves? And there's no rule. Like, you can't say, okay, well, if I masturbate once a day, every day, that's okay. Or if I masturbate once every other day, that's okay. Like, you can't pick a number. There is no number. That the number is based on why. It's not based on how much you're masturbating. It's based on why you're masturbating. Okay, so let's just take a moment for a second here. Everybody take a deep breath with me. So, it's not the number of times you masturbate, it's why you're masturbating and how you're masturbating and how you feel about that masturbation session, or that whacking off session, rubbing one out, choking the chicken. All right? So, here are some of the reasons that if you're masturbating because you're bored, you're masturbating as a way to avoid, if you feel shame and guilt and bad about your masturbation, these are usually good indicators that there's probably something off there. There's probably something that you might want to look at changing your relationship with your self-exploration and your masturbation. If you feel empty afterwards, like, these are kind of some of the things that would be like, I think I might want to look at my masturbation life and look at, is this serving me or is this not serving me? Okay, so that's really the indicator, because the truth is, you could masturbate if you had the day off. Okay, you had nothing going on. You could masturbate 15 times in that day and it wouldn't be unhealthy. And you're like, what? But you could, because you have nothing. As long as you aren't doing it to escape, to avoid, you're not feeling guilt and shame about it, you're not avoiding intimacy with others because of it, then, float your boat, rub it out raw for the day if you want to. nothing wrong with that. Now, if that's what happens every day and you're not getting anything done and it's interfering in your ability to get your work done, if it's interfering in your ability to connect with other people, then that's where we talk about having an issue or concern, right? Still, it may not be an issue. It may just be a concern of like maybe course correcting what's going on. The other thing about that is, do I have a healthy relationship with my masturbation? Is, you know, what do you feel like? This is a good indicator, all right? What do you feel like after you've masturbated? Do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel satisfied? Do you feel, yeah, that was good? Like, do you feel euphoric afterwards? Like, what is happening is a really good indicator of what you emotionally feel after you've had your, whack off session, your rubbing one out, your masturbation, your self-love session. How do you feel about yourself? How's your energy feel? And if it's good, then great. You're on track. It doesn't matter how many times you masturbate. As long as you're not using it as an avoidance tactic and it's not interfering, go for it. Use lots of lube. Now, if afterwards you feel bad, guilty, shame, self-loathing, you're like unsatisfied, it felt empty, then there's some places and some room for you to work on either changing how you're masturbating and changing what it is that you're doing, what you're thinking about, what you're, as far as, external stimulation goes, like that might be part of it. Might be changing your mindset about the shame of your fantasies and letting go and coming to this place of self-acceptance. It might be, really leaning into, why am I using this as a crutch versus this being a wonderful sexual relationship with myself? Are you doing it out of a place of, another thing is, how do I want to put this? Are you doing it as a place because you aren't getting any, so there's this feeling of loneliness and emptiness afterwards? A good way to shift that is just changing your perspective, which is, I'm not masturbating because I can't get any. I'm masturbating because I like giving myself pleasure, and I like having sex with myself because I am wonderful to have sex with. So why wouldn't I want to have sex with myself? All right. Sometimes it's just about changing our perspective. Sometimes it's just about changing the way we look at things. Now, if there's like an addiction space, because people often come to me talking about, and usually usually not always, but it's often wrapped up in porn addiction. This feeling of, if it's an addictive behavior, when it feels like you can't stop yourself, you can't control yourself, you feel out of control, and if you don't do it, you're craving it until you do it. And then once you do it, you then have all of these releases, both physical, biochemical, and emotional, and that's what you're jonesing for, and then you need it again, and then you need it again, and you need it again, and it feels like this, that you're constantly needing this fix. If that's what's going on, then I highly recommend reaching out to me so that we can talk about rewiring some of that. All right, creating a new relationship with your masturbation time. Okay. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? I think that's really it. This one's short and sweet. Get in, get out. Get in and get out, don't mess my hairdo. Which is sometimes the style of masturbation. Or you can make sweet, sweet love to yourself. Or you can do exploration for long periods of time. If you're bored, the other thing is that if you're like bored while you're masturbating, then it's time to mix it up. I highly recommend going and listening to my episode on expanding your spank bank and changing your orgasmic patterning. All right. These are two things that will expand your masturbation world. And the last thing I want to leave you with, I know I said it was short and sweet. I lied. All right. So the last thing I want to leave you with, or maybe it's the last thing, we'll see what happens after I finish saying this thing, is why do we want to have, what are the benefits of having a great, wild, crazy, expansive sexual relationship with ourselves? Well, there are so many benefits, right? So the first one is that when we have our world of masturbation and our world of fantasies and our spank bank, which is a Rolodex of fantasies, the things that we think about while we're, self-pleasuring, this is our way in which we expand our creativity and we expand our imagination and our creative problem solving skills, right? So it's a really important part of keeping the mind sharp and evolution of your abilities to do creative problem solving. So that's really important. The other part is that when we are the source of our sexual gratification, because we have this really amazing sex life with ourselves, not because we can't get any from anywhere else, but we can get some from other places, and we also desire to have sex with ourselves and have our sexual relationship with ourselves. So when we drop into that place of having that relationship with ourselves, it allows us, there's this happy, wonderful byproduct. It gives us a space to explore what we desire, what we want, how our body likes to be touched, different things we can explore and expand and try new things in the comfort and the safetiness of with ourselves. And when we have that, and we can develop and figure out who we are and continue to grow, because sexuality is an evolution. You're constantly developing and growing. Otherwise, it gets stagnant and boring and not, and arousal dries up, orgasms dry up, interest in it dries up. Like, it all dries up when you get bored. Okay, so that's a really important piece of why this self awareness, the self exploration, what that does is it helps you continue growing and expanding as you develop as a sexual being. And then from there, you can take that knowledge, you can take that experience, you can take all of that with you, and you can then share it with the others that are in your life, with your lover or lovers, depending on what kind of relationship love paradigms, relationship styles you got going on in your life. So that's a really important piece. And then there's all sorts of wonderful health benefits. You can use it as stress management, emotional release. You can use it. It helps to change our biochemical responses in our body. It helps to decrease cortisone. It creates all the happy drugs in our bodies and our biochemical reaction to things. It changes our perspectives. It's a mood changer. It's also can be used as pain management so that we're not doped up on heavy narcotics. Like, there's a lot of incredible benefits from self-exploration and from masturbation. And the other thing that's really important, and the benefit is that you now feel connected to you. And so you're not looking for, you don't need, you desire and want and receive, but you don't need others to validate and to validate your sexiness, to validate your worthiness, to validate, you don't need an external source with your sexual arousal. which makes you feel safe too. Like you can actually just drop into being sexually aroused within yourself, and that knowing that you are responsible for your own sexual gratification. What this does is it helps others to not feel obligated to fix your sexual gratification, and you're not responsible for other people's sexual gratification. So this does really great things within the confines of a relationship. Having a healthy, open, honest masturbation life in your relationship is incredibly powerful and incredibly beneficial, because it changes the dynamic of expectations, rejections, and performance anxiety. So those are just tips of the iceberg of why it's so important to have a fantastic sexual relationship with yourself. All right. So I love you all. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. I hope this was inspirational and inspiring. And, and again, if some of the things that I hit home, some of the reasons that you are masturbating, and that it doesn't feel like it's, you're solid in it, you know where I am. You can just reach out to me, okay, at succulentliving.com. And I'm there, and we can figure out how to reframe that so that you move from this place of your sex life with yourself is doing harm to you and not benefiting you, to it being like making your life better. All right? I love having sex with me. And I also have fantastic lovers in my life, but I love my relationship with me. I love it. It's amazing. And so I want for my audience, all of you, I want for you to be able to feel good and comfortable and empowered, and your sexuality and your pleasure is part of this gift that you can give to yourself. So take some time, touch yourself today. And not necessarily from just having a focus on orgasm, but on pleasure. Just touch yourself. All right. That's it. That's all. You can find me at succulentliving.com for all your BDSM needs. You can find me at empressgaia.com. Don't forget to follow me on all the social media platforms under Gaia Morrissette and Empress Gaia. And don't forget to check out tickle.life. And I'm the host of tickle.life's podcast, where we explore and I interview experts and I find out all the juicy details of their own personal lives, their relationships, their kinky lives, their sex lives. So definitely come check out tickle.life podcast. And don't forget, you can download my app for My Orgasmic Life so that you never miss an episode of me. And you can bring me with you everywhere you go. Don't you need a little more Gaia in your life? Like this laugh. Isn't this laugh wonderful? Don't you want that everywhere you go? Or you can find My Orgasmic Life podcast, My Orgasmic Life, on all your podcasting platforms. Mwah. Have a juicy day. Bye-bye.